Why French kiss? It's a long story. I've always had a love affair with France. Always when I'm thinking of a theme for a collection, it's never just plucked out of the air, there's always a reason for it. I just seem to be thinking about France a lot. I remember one day I just sat down without any research in particular and just thought, well, what are the most ultimate French hats? And in a way I designed the collection in 5 minutes. Are they kitsch? Yes. Do they fall into every trap of Frenchiness? Yes, they do. Hopefully I've done it in a celebratory way and in a way which is unique and new, and essentially my own point of view as well. When we were punks in 1976, I remember seeing Cocteau's La Belle et la Bête or Les Enfants du Paradis. And this was a huge influence on us. Even though we might have been wearing ripped rubber trousers, that sort of perfumed world of beauty just was so exciting. It's the imagination of France and what France is about and what Paris is about, which is almost stronger than the reality. And I think for so many people around the world, the myth of France is extraordinary and a real magnet. Once Paris has got you, there's no escape, apart from on the Eurostar. When you're in Paris and you're walking from A to B and you look up and you see the extraordinary buildings, and hats are like buildings that you put on your head, after all, and you look up and you just see the effort and the money which has gone into making something beautiful. It's quite extraordinary. Each hat is a particular symbol of an element of France or French culture or Paris or French romantic love. I realised what I wanted to do was create a hat for a woman to make love in. So this is a hat to be worn when she is naked. It's a very big hat made from lace. It's got a lot of movement in it. It will exaggerate movement. So, in a funny way, a hat is a lure, is French allure, as part of making love. A lot of the collection is in black, pink, and red. Black because if you think of it, French chic, what colour is French chic wearing? French chic is wearing black. French chic is not wearing beige. But when French chic gets undressed at the end of the evening to make love, maybe it's wearing pink or red. I also wanted to do a blindfold, not knowing what's about to happen to you or not knowing what is going on. I think is quite attractive. In a way, this collection is extremely classic. They're very, very classic hat shapes. In order to make them French, we're using absolutely the most authentic, luxurious materials that we can do. And also, when we're making certain of the hats, we will use the correct techniques that we used in the 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. Not necessarily modern techniques that we could do now and make it quicker. Because also, I'm really of the last generation of people who was trained to make hats in that mid-century way. I've always loved berets. It's a historical shape. Plain black felt berets, you know, the ultimate in chic. This is an area of berets which I'd never explored before. Made in satin, and it's got wonderful seaming in it, and SJ millinery embroidered on the front. Le chapeau, bien sûr, c'est un béret. Le chapeau le plus français. So I'm just going to move this like
Très français.
Le plus français. And you put this under your chin, so when you're at sea.
J'aime bien comme ça.
Tu aimes comme ça? Oui. C'est mignon comme ça.
C'est mignon. Les
Ouais.
deux sont bien.
Ouais. Comme ça. Comme pas un pompon.
Vraiment.
Ouais. Très bien comme ça. If you have to think of another hat which is emblematic of France, it's Napoleon's bicorn. I love the shape of it, so I did this drawing, which is what I thought it might look like if you took it and chopped it up. Donc ça c'est le chapeau napoléonette, c'est inspiré, c'est le chapeau de Napoléon, un peu, mais nous avons le transformé comme ça, et ça c'est le chapeau, c'est un peu comme un visière. Ça te plaît?
Oui, brillant.
Ouais. Et c'est bien parce que ton rouge à lèvres, c'est exactement assorti avec
C'est
les
ça.
cocardes au-dessus. Mais c'est bien. When, in 1976, I was in the library looking through those old Vogues or Harper's Bazaars and seeing women in extravagant hats, you know, they wear like this. So I knew I needed to do a big glamorous hat. Ultimate couture fabrics, black velvet with pink satin. In a way, there's nothing which is more French than that. Also in the mid-century idea was this sort of extravagance of glamour or of Frenchness. And the person really who did this was a designer called Jacques Fath. And his milliner was a Danish man called Svend. I have taken his ideology and applied it to a signature Stephen Jones shape, which is a small top hat. So also this is a balance, a mixture between France and England. The next three hats really are about the boudoir. A veil, which itself, to me, is very alluring. You know, a veil is lingerie for the face, and the act of removing lingerie is always more important than the lingerie itself. So I'm told. It's called en ligne. So en ligne, it means that the roses are in a line. There's something about it being command or discipline, being in line, but it's also being online in the chat room. Yay! C'est juste les deux rubans comme ça, et maintenant c'est terminé. Avant, c'était pas terminé. So this is the French kiss hat, which is a man's and a woman's lips and tongues. This is called ordi. In French, a computer is called an ordinateur, and this is a nickname for your computer. This is me with Sibylle, my French assistant, who is my French muse, and Jean-Paul Gaultier in the La Palace nightclub, I think in about 1986, and you could see she's actually got a cutout of a mouth on her head, amazingly enough, in this photograph. This was quite a research, actually, funny enough. We had to fix the tongues together in a certain way, and I spent quite a long time asking many different French friends of mine whether tongue piercings would be acceptable in France or not. So I do my research. And some people said yes, and some people said no, and some people said, well, yes, it would be fine, but I wouldn't want them to open their mouths in front of my mother. Which is, being scared of your parents if you're 50 is quite a thing. Maybe we all are anyway. So when I was thinking about the ultimate hat for this collection, I always think the biggest, most important hat is Audrey Hepburn's hat in My Fair Lady. And extraordinarily enough, that hat was made by a lady called Madame Paulette, who was a very important milliner in the 40s and 50s in Paris. She really made the hats for the huge turbans of the French Resistance. A girl who worked for her in the 60s actually worked for me at Dior when I first joined Dior Josiane. And it was this weird British-French thing which was going on, which is a representation of that hat. Et ça c'est le grand chapeau pour l'amour. Si je le mets comme ça. Presque le chapeau de My Fair Lady, mais en transparent, complètement transparent. Mais c'est bien avec les bijoux. Et c'est un peu inspiré par les Bluebell Girls de Lido. Et pour aller avec ça, j'ai mon chapeau haut de forme aussi. Mais avec le masque, je crois que ça ne va pas. C'est bien. Oh. I never know that the hats are ready, but what I've learned is when I can't take it any further. Now I realise that actually a lightness of touch also is crucial. Ultimately, I know what people want from me is something which is really Stephen Jones. They're not interested in having something fashionable. They want something which is really me. C'est mon amour de la France. One private client, French private client, who lived in Monaco, who was an extraordinary lady in her late 50s, early 60s, had a slightly older husband, and they used to have sex with her wearing a hat and nothing else. And they used to come into the shop here, and she would walk up and down fully clothed with huge amounts of jewellery on. And he would sit on the sofa and applaud her and say, "You look magnificent, darling. You look magnificent." And he must have been 75, 80. She must have been late 50s, early 60s. I've almost never heard of anything about her.